I stared at the piece of black fabric freshly pulled from the washing machine, fingers absent-mindedly rubbing the torn lace trim. The hole in these yoga pants was precisely located in the crotch area. The premium Lululemon fabric, Rue's favorite, was what she always called breathable and skin-tight, that prevents wardrobe malfunctions during yoga. Now this 1,000 yuan yoga pants bore a jagged tear across the groin, as if something sharp had ripped through them violently. What unsettled me more were the dried, caked white stains around the tear's edges, feeling slightly stiff to the touch. When I leaned closer, a faint fishy odor invaded my nostrils, making my stomach churn. "What are you looking at?" Lin Lu's voice came from behind. I instinctively stuffed the yoga pants into the laundry basket and turned with a forced smile. "Nothing, just finished doing laundry," I said nonchalantly, but my gaze involuntarily drifted to her face. She had applied light makeup today. Her eyeliner was perfectly applied, lips colored in a soft muted pink that made her look impeccably polished and put together. "Oh," she responded absently, walking over to the fridge to retrieve a yogurt. "I'm going to the gym tonight. You'll have to eat on your own." I nodded, watching as she scooped yogurt with her spoon. The white liquid dribbled down the edge of the spoon, leaving a small stain on her blouse front. She frowned, grabbing a tissue to wipe it off. "By the way," I asked casually, "how did your black yoga pants get torn?" Her movements froze for an instant. The spoon clinked sharply against the glass bowl. "Oh, that." She continued scooping yogurt, "accidentally caught it on the equipment during training yesterday. So unlucky." "Really?" I stared at her profile. "It's torn quite badly." "Yeah." She smiled and tossed the empty yogurt container into the trash. "It doesn't matter anyway. Had them for ages. I'll just get a new one another day." I watched her walk into the bedroom to change clothes, feeling like a stone was lodged in my heart. That yoga pants set was something she'd just bought last month. She had specifically posted on her moment to show off back then, claiming it was a limited edition that was hard to acquire. Moreover, given her personality, if she'd really accidentally torn it, she would have been utterly heartbroken. How could she have downplayed it so casually? I walked to the laundry basket and picked up the yoga pants again. The edges of the torn hole were jagged, as if something had forcibly stretched it open. I examined carefully and noticed a tiny electronic key sewn into the inner waistband, engraved with a string of numbers. XX0321. XX stands for the abbreviation of an upscale local gym, while 0321 is the locker number. I recalled Lin Lu did sign up for a membership at that gym, but she usually went there with CH. Wei and rarely alone. As I pondered this, Lin Lu had already changed and emerged. She wore gray sweatpants paired with an oversized sweatshirt, looking crisp and efficient. "I'm heading out." She picked up her bag and moved toward the door. "Wait," I called out to her. "Why have you been going to the gym with Chun Wei so often lately?" She paused, glancing back at me with a slightly faltering gaze. "What's wrong? Haven't we always gone together? But before, you only went on weekends. Why every day now?" I probed cautiously. She smiled and said casually, "Work has been stressful lately. I want to exercise more to relax." I nodded and said nothing further. She turned to leave, while I stood by the window watching her hurry towards the residential compound entrance. A black SUV was already waiting there. The car window rolled down as Chun Wei waved at her. She pulled open the door and got inside. The vehicle soon disappeared from view. Returning to the living room, I picked up the yoga pants and examined the electronic key closely. The VIP storage lockers at XX Gym were only accessible to senior members, yet Lin Lu's membership card was just standard. Opening my phone, I checked XX Gym's official website. Their VIP annual fee reached 5 figures and required strict approval processes. Though Lin Lu earned decently, such extravagance seemed beyond her means. As I pondered this, my phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. "Wednesday at the usual spot for reshoots. Don't forget. I stared at the text message, an uneasy feeling rising in my chest. Lin Lu's phone lay on the coffee table. She had forgotten to take it when she left. After a moment's hesitation, I picked it up and unlocked it. Her password had always been my birthday, which gave me slight comfort. Opening her text history, I discovered frequent recent exchanges with an unfamiliar number. Most messages were brief, "See you Wednesday," or "Don't forget to bring the clothes," interspersed with similar conversations. Scrolling to the top, the first message dated back a month. "Wednesday, 3 p.m., XX Gym VIP area. Remember to wear those black yoga pants." My heart started racing, my fingers trembling slightly as I continued scrolling. The logs revealed weekly Wednesday meetings, always mentioning those yoga pants. The final message from yesterday read, "Good performance today. Let's continue next time." I set down the phone, feeling like a massive boulder was pressing against my chest, making it hard to breathe. Lin Lu went to the gym every Wednesday, always wearing those black yoga pants. Today, however, these pants had inexplicably developed a tear, stained with suspicious white residue. I picked up the yoga pants and re-examined the torn area. The lace trim along the edges was shredded, as if something had forcibly stretched the fabric open. Suddenly, remembering something, I grabbed my phone and searched yoga pants ripped. The results froze me in place. The first search result was an anonymous forum post titled, "Exposing the Hidden Camera Ring in Gyms." Clicking through, the original poster detailed how perpetrators used locker rooms and equipment areas to secretly film female gym members. There was even a dedicated yoga pants series. The tight, easily damaged fabric made them prime targets for hidden cameras. My hands began trembling as I continued scrolling, finding that the original poster mentioned perpetrators typically choose storage lockers in the VIP area since it's less crowded and has multiple blind spots and surveillance. They even install miniature cameras inside lockers specifically to film female members changing clothes. I abruptly stood up, grabbed my car keys, and rushed out. The XX gym wasn't far from my home. It was only a 10-minute drive. I had to personally investigate what exactly was hidden in that VIP locker. Speeding down the road, memories of Lin Lu's recent strange behavior kept replaying in my mind. She'd been coming home late recently, sometimes with unexplained bruises that she'd brush off as gym accidents. She also frequently received texts from unknown numbers, and she'd hurriedly delete them after reading. Parking in front of the gym, I strode inside, heading straight for the VIP section. The security guard at the entrance stopped me, but immediately stepped aside after I showed him the electronic keycard. I found locker 0321, inserted the key, and the door clicked open. The interior was completely empty except for a small SD card lying quietly in the corner. I picked up the SD card with trembling fingers. I knew this must contain some unspeakable secret. In a secluded corner, I inserted the SD card into my phone and opened the file manager. There was only one video file, named 0321-202-31004. Taking a deep breath, I tapped the video. The initial footage was blurry, but quickly came into focus. The camera showed a dimly lit room with sportswear hanging on the walls and yoga mats spread across the floor. A woman wearing black yoga pants stood with her back to the camera, performing stretching exercises. My heart began racing violently. That silhouette was achingly familiar. It was Lin Lu. She seemed completely unaware of the camera's presence, continuing through various yoga poses. The video was shot from a low angle, as if captured from ground level looking upward, clearly framing her lower body. I clenched my jaw against the rising bile and kept watching. The frames suddenly shifted. Lin Lu walked toward the camera and crouched down, seemingly adjusting something. At that moment, a hand reached out from off-screen and grabbed her ankle. Lin Lu screamed, trying to wrench free, but the hand's grip was steel-like, yanking her to the floor. The footage began shaking violently. Through the blur, I could just make out Lin Lu thrashing on the ground, while the owner of the hand never entered the frame. The video snapped to black. I stared at the darkened screen, my mind utterly blank. Lin Lu had been spied on, and the perpetrator clearly had nefarious intent. I bolted up from my seat, sprinted out of the gym, and sped straight home. I had to get answers. What the hell was going on? However, when I returned home, Lin Lu wasn't there. Her phone was still on the coffee table. I opened it and found another message from that unfamiliar number. Meet at the old place tonight. Remember to wear those black yoga pants. I clenched the phone, a sense of foreboding welling up inside me. Tonight, I had to personally go to that old place to see who was behind this. I sat on the sofa, gripping Lin Lu's phone. The message felt like a thorn piercing deep into my heart. The text was simple yet chilling. Meet at the old place tonight. Remember to wear those black yoga pants. Old place? Where? The VIP section of XX Gym? Or somewhere else? Staring at the phone screen, I rapidly retraced Lin Lu's recent movements in my mind. She went to the gym every Wednesday, but aside from that, there didn't seem to be any other regular routines. I opened her WeChat and scrolled through recent chat records. Aside from daily conversations with Chen Wei, a contact labeled Coach caught my attention. Their chat history was brief, mostly scheduling training sessions, but the recent messages seemed unusual. Meet at the usual place tonight. Wear the black yoga pants. This latest message from the contact was identical to the text on Lin Lu's phone. Frowning, I clicked on the profile picture, a middle-aged man around 40, muscular build wearing a form-fitting tank top with an XX gym staff badge hanging on his chest. His name was Zhang Chong, Lin Lu's personal trainer. Continuing through their chat history, I noticed that starting from 1 month ago, Zhang Chong began frequently arranging extra training sessions with Lin Lu, each time specifically reminding her to wear those black yoga pants. Lin Lu's replies were mostly okay or got it, occasionally asking questions about training routines. Everything appeared normal on the surface. Yet the torn yoga pants and the video on the SD card made it impossible for me to trust this facade of calm. I decided to visit XX Gym in person to see what exactly Zhang Chong was up to. I drove to the gym and headed straight for the front desk. The receptionist smiled and asked how she could assist me. I showed her Lin Lu's membership card and requested to see Coach Zhang Chong. Coach Zhang is in a session right now. You can wait in the lounge area, the receptionist said, gesturing toward the nearby sofa section. I nodded and sat down in the waiting area, my gaze fixed on the training zone. Before long, I saw Zhang Chong emerge from a private training room, followed by a tall woman, Lin Lu herself. She was wearing a tight sports tank top paired with black yoga pants, the same pair with the crotch tear. Her hair was pulled into a high ponytail, cheeks flushed from exercise, looking energetic. Zhang Chong exchanged a few words with her, patted her shoulder, then turned towards another private training room. Lin Lu walked towards the locker room, apparently preparing to change and leave. I stood up and quickly followed. The locker room door stood ajar. Pausing at the entrance, I overheard Lin Lu's conversation with Chun Wei. Why are you so late today? Chun Wei's voice carried dissatisfaction. Coach Zhang said we needed extra training, so I stayed longer. Lin Lu's tone sounded tinged with exhaustion. Extra training? Did he make you wear those yoga pants again? Chun Wei's voice suddenly rose a notch. He said these leggings help with training. Lin Lu's voice lowered, tinged with guilt. Help? I think he has ulterior motives. Chun Wei sneered. Do you know he's developed a terrible reputation at the gym lately? They say he's always getting handsy with female members. Don't talk nonsense. Coach Zhang is kind. He's just correcting my posture. Lin Lu's hurried tone carried defensive notes. Correcting posture? Then why does he always make you wear those yoga pants? Don't you think that's strange? Chun Wei's voice dripped with sarcasm. Lin Lu fell silent, seemingly at a loss for words. Standing outside the door, my chest tightened. Chun Wei's words solidified my conviction. There was definitely something wrong with Zhang Chong's extra training sessions with Lin Lu. I was lost in thought when the locker room door suddenly swung open. Chun Wei emerged and paused in surprise upon seeing me standing by the entrance. What are you doing here? Her voice carried faint astonishment, her tone regaining composure almost immediately. I'm here to pick up Lin Lu. I replied evenly, though my gaze remained fixed on her face. Chun Wei's expression turned inscrutable. She glanced back into the locker room before whispering urgently. You should be careful. Zhang Chong isn't a good person. I nodded silently. As Chun Wei walked away, I entered to find Lin Lu sitting on the bench changing her shoes. She looked up in surprise when she saw me enter. What are you doing here? Her voice quivered slightly, apparently unprepared for my appearance. I came to get you, I said, moving closer. My eyes automatically dropped to the yoga pants she was wearing. The crotch of those pants was completely intact, clearly not the pair I'd found in the washing machine. Lin Lu noticed my gaze and instinctively pulled at her waistband, as if trying to cover something. I crouched down and grasped her wrist, asking in a low voice, Have you been hiding something from me recently? Her body stiffened slightly, her eyes flickering nervously. No, why would you think that? I stared into her eyes, trying to read something from her expression. Her gaze wavered, seemingly unable to meet mine directly. I took a deep breath and decided to lay my cards on the table. I found a torn yoga pants in the washing machine with white stains on the crotch, I said in a low voice, barely containing my anger. Lin Lu's face turned deathly pale. She jerked her hand back and stood up abruptly, trying to leave. I grabbed her arm and forced her back onto the bench. What exactly are you hiding from me? My voice trembled as an ominous premonition welled up in my chest. Lin Lu lowered her head, her hands tightly gripping the hem of her clothes as if engaged in an intense internal struggle. After what felt like an eternity, she finally murmured, I don't know how to tell you. Start from the beginning then. I forced myself to stay calm, sitting down beside her and taking her hand. Lin Lu remained silent for a moment before speaking. A month ago, Coach Zhang suddenly approached me, saying my posture had issues that required extra training to correct. He asked me to come to the gym every Wednesday night wearing those black yoga pants, claiming it would help him better observe my movements. And then, I pressed. At first, he was genuinely correcting my form. But later, her voice trembled. He started touching me inappropriately, saying it was to help relax my muscles. I felt so uncomfortable. My heart dropped like a stone. I squeezed her hand tighter, urging her to continue. I tried to refuse him, but he threatened me, said he'd post my training videos online if I didn't cooperate. Lin Lu's voice trembled with suppressed tears. I didn't know what to do. I had to obey. I took a deep breath, struggling to contain my rage. That bastard Zhang Chong actually used such despicable tactics to threaten Lin Lu. My fists clenched tighter, a vow silently forming in my heart. I'd make him pay. What about the torn yoga pants? I asked quietly. Lin Lu shuddered. Last Wednesday, he made me attempt some advanced moves. I fell. The equipment caught my pants and tore them. Her head dropped lower. Then he took advantage to do worse things. I closed my eyes, a pang of pain piercing my heart. Anger consumed me, but deeper still burned guilt. How could I have failed to notice her distress earlier? How could I have let her endure this alone? Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, my tone tinged with self-reproach. I was afraid you'd do something impulsive if you knew. Lin Lu's voice choked up with emotion. I didn't want to drag you into this. I held her tightly in my arms, an overwhelming protective urge surging through me. No matter what, I must protect her. That bastard would never hurt her again. Don't worry. I'll handle this properly. My low voice carried firm conviction. Lin Lu lifted her head, anxiety flickering in her eyes. What are you going to do? I'll make him pay. My icy declaration concealed the meticulous plan already formed in my mind. Pulling out my phone, I opened the video stored on the SD card and showed it to Lin Lu. Her face turned deathly pale in an instant, her body shaking violently. This? Where did he get this from? Her trembling voice was laced with terror. I found this in the VIP locker. I whispered. Not only did he secretly film you, but he also stored these videos obviously to continue blackmailing you. Lin Lu's tears finally streamed down her cheeks as she tightly gripped my hand, voice trembling. What should we do? Taking a deep breath, I calmly stated. First, we'll report to the police and hand over this evidence. Then I'll find a lawyer to sue him for sexual harassment and illegal filming. Lin Lu nodded, seeming slightly reassured. Clasping her hand, I murmured, Don't worry, I'll stay by your side. I won't let anyone hurt you again. She leaned into my embrace, sobbing quietly. Gently patting her back, I swore silently to make Zhang Chong pay for what he'd done. However, things weren't as simple as I imagined. Just as we prepared to contact the police, Lin Lu's phone suddenly received an anonymous text. If you dare go to the police, these videos will be uploaded online. I stared at the text message, an ominous premonition rising in my heart. Zhang Chong was clearly prepared. Not only had he secretly filmed Lin Lu, but he had also obtained more evidence. If we rashly reported to the police, it might put Lin Lu in even greater danger. I took a deep breath and decided to temporarily hold our position, first gathering more evidence before devising a way to deal with him. Let's go home first and plan this carefully, I whispered to Lin Lu. She nodded her head, gripping my hand tightly as if afraid I might suddenly vanish. I took her away from the gym and drove home. The entire journey, we sat in silence, each consumed by our own thoughts. After returning home, I let Lin Lu rest first while I remained in the living room, carefully considering our next steps. Zhang Chong was clearly not new to such deeds. There must be other victims. If we could find more evidence, we could fully expose his crimes. I opened my computer and began searching for information about XX Gym. Soon I discovered an anonymous forum containing numerous negative reviews about Zhang Chong. Some mentioned him frequently making inappropriate physical contact with female members, while others accused him of using his position as a personal trainer to RCE female members into sexual relationships. Continuing to scroll down, I found a lengthy post from an anonymous user detailing Zhang Chong's modus operandi. He typically targeted weak-willed female members who were afraid to resist, approaching them through his trainer position under the guise of correcting their movements to sexually harass them. If they resisted, he would threaten them with secretly recorded videos to force their compliance. The more I read, the more appalled I became. Zhang Chong's crimes were far more heinous than I had imagined. I decided to contact this anonymous user to see if I could obtain more information from them. Registering a new account, I sent a private message to the anonymous user asking if they would be willing to provide additional evidence. Before long, the other party replied, agreeing to meet in person for detailed discussion. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop. The anonymous user turned out to be a young woman in her early 20s, her face marked with traces of exhaustion and fear. She told me she had been Zhang Chong's student and experienced his sexual harassment. When she tried to report to police, Zhang threatened her with secretly recorded videos, forcing her to back down. He possesses numerous videos, all secretly filmed recordings of female members, the girl said softly, her voice trembling with resentment and resignation. If we refuse to comply, he'll upload those videos online and ruin our lives. I took a deep breath, intense anger welling up inside me. Zhang Chong, that bastard, had actually used such despicable means to destroy so many young women's lives. Have you considered joining forces with other victims to report him together? I asked in a low voice. The girl shook her head with a bitter smile. We've all tried, but he holds compromising material on us. We don't dare make rash moves. I nodded, secretly resolving in my heart. No matter what, I must find more evidence to completely expose Zhang Chong's crimes. After returning home, I told Lin Lu about today's events. She remained silent for a long time after listening, finally whispering, I'm willing to come forward and report this to the police with the other victims. Lin Lu's decision brought me a glimmer of relief, but also made me realize the challenges we faced were far more complicated than imagined. Zhang Chong wasn't just a cunning sexual harasser, but a blackmailer holding leverage over countless victims. If we act recklessly, we might tip him off and give him chances to destroy evidence, or even retaliate against Lin Lu and other victims. I need a meticulous plan. I sat on the living room sofa holding a coffee cup, gazing at Lin Lu with grave eyes. She nodded, her eyes carrying a trace of determination. You're right, we can't act rashly. Zhang Chong holds too much evidence. If we're not careful, things could get worse. Setting down the coffee cup, I opened my laptop and began organizing the information we currently had. Zhang Chong's modus operandi had become clear, using his position as a personal trainer to approach female clients, committing sexual harassment under the guise of correcting movements, then threatening victims with secretly recorded videos. However, to fully expose his crimes, we still needed more evidence. We need to find other victims. I mumbled while rapidly typing on the keyboard. Only by uniting more people can we make the police take this seriously. Lin Lu nodded and sat down beside me, her gaze fixed on the screen. I know a few girls at the gym who might have suffered harassment from Zhang Chong. I can try to contact them. Be careful, don't startle the snake in the grass, I cautioned. Zhang Chong might already sense we're investigating him. Lin Lu nodded, pulled out her phone, and began messaging familiar contacts. I continued scouring forums for relevant information, searching for more leads. Before long, Lin Lu's phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen, and her face abruptly paled. What's wrong? I asked quietly, noticing her tension. She handed me the phone. An anonymous message glared on the screen. If you dare to team up with others, these videos will be posted online. I stared at the text as a sense of foreboding rose within me. Zhang Chong had clearly detected our movements. He was now threatening Lin Lu directly. I won't let him intimidate us. I gripped Lin Lu's hand and said in a low voice, the more he does this, the more it proves his guilt. Lin Lu nodded, but her eyes still held a flicker of fear. But what if he really posts the videos online? What should I do then? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. We need to find where he's storing those videos. Only by obtaining these pieces of evidence can we completely free ourselves from his threats. After a moment of silence, Lin Lu suddenly looked up, a glimmer of determination in her eyes. I remember once, he made me retrieve something from the VIP area's storage locker. There was a safe there. My eyes lit up as I immediately recognized this might be a crucial clue. Do you remember which locker it was? Lin Lu nodded. Number 0321. The one with the electronic key card. I immediately remembered the yoga pants I had found in the washing machine earlier. The electronic key sewn into the inner waistband was precisely for locker 0321 in the VIP area of XX Gym. It seemed Zhang Chong had hidden crucial evidence there. We need to find a way to get what's inside that safe, I whispered, already mapping out our next steps in my mind. Lin Lu looked at me anxiously. But the VIP area has security guards. How do we get in? I pondered for a moment before an idea struck. We can pretend to RK out first, then sneak into the VIP area when there's a chance. Lin Lu nodded, seeming to think the plan feasible. When do we act? Tonight, I murmured. The sooner Zhang Chong discovers our move, the more time he'll have to destroy evidence. We must act quickly. Lin Lu took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, I'll go with you. After brief preparations, we changed into workout clothes and drove to XX Gym. The security guard at the entrance greeted us with a smile and asked how he could assist. We're here to work out, I said casually while presenting Lin Lu's membership card. The guard nodded and let us through. We headed straight for the VIP area, where another security guard stopped us. This is the VIP zone. Regular members aren't allowed entry, the guard stated in a polite but firm tone. I produced the electronic key and showed it to him. We're VIP members. This is our locker key. The guard glanced at the key, nodded, and stepped aside. We hurried to locker number 0321, inserted the key, and heard the click of the door unlocking. Inside sat a small safe with a digital keypad requiring a password. Do you know the code? I whispered to Lin Lu. She shook her head. Zhang Chong never told me. Frowning, I tried several common password combinations, but none worked. With each passing second, my anxiety began to grow. We need to hurry. The security might get suspicious. Lin Lu reminded me in a hushed tone. I took a deep breath and suddenly remembered something. Zhang Chong's birthday was March 21st, 1985. Perhaps he used his birthday as the password. I entered 850,321. The safe emitted a soft click as its door swung open. Inside were several hard drives, a USB flash drive, and some paper documents. I quickly stuffed these items into my backpack, closed the safe, and pulled Lin Lu out of the VIP area at a brisk pace. Just as we exited the gym, Lin Lu's phone vibrated. When she checked it, her face turned deathly pale. BR? What's wrong? I asked softly, sensing her unease. BR? She handed me the phone. The screen displayed an anonymous text message. You think you can escape me with those things? How naive. Staring at the message, an ominous premonition surged through me. Zhang Chong clearly already knew we had obtained the items from the safe. He began threatening us in more direct methods. We can't let him intimidate us. I grasped Lin Lu's hand and said in a low voice, "We have evidence against him. He won't dare act recklessly." Lin Lu nodded, but a trace of fear still lingered in her eyes. "But what if he really posts the video online? What should I do?" I took a deep breath, trying to compose myself. We need to hand this evidence to the police immediately. Only through legal channels can we truly free ourselves from his threats. Lin Lu remained silent for a moment before finally nodding. "All right, let's report this to the police." We drove to the nearby police station, explained the situation to the officer on duty, and submitted the evidence we'd retrieved from the safe. The police officer listened to our account, his expression turning serious. "We will open an investigation into this matter immediately. Go home and wait for updates," the officer said in a low voice, his tone carrying a solemn note. We nodded and left the police station, driving home. The entire journey passed in silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. Back at home, I booted up my computer to examine the hard drive and USB drive retrieved from the safe. The hard drive was filled with hidden camera footage, documenting not just Lin Lu as a victim, but at least a dozen other young women. The USB drive contained account ledgers and transaction records that meticulously detailed how Zhang Chong had been leveraging these videos for blackmail and illegal dealings. With each document I reviewed, my horror grew. Zhang Chong's criminal conduct proved far more depraved than we'd ever imagined. He wasn't merely a sexual predator, but the ringleader of an organized crime group. "We must hand all this evidence to the police immediately," I said quietly to Lin Lu. Lin Lu nodded in agreement, yet her eyes still held traces of unease. "But if Zhang Chong finds out we've gone to the police, what if he retaliates against the others?" I took a deep breath, feeling uneasy in my heart. Zhang Chong was clearly an extremely cunning and dangerous man. If we weren't careful, we might put other victims in even greater danger. "We need to find a way to protect the other victims," I said in a low voice, already starting to plan our next move. Lin Lu remained silent for a moment, then suddenly looked up with a glint in her eyes. "I remember Zhang Chong has an assistant named Xiao Li. He might know more inside information." My eyes lit up as I immediately recognized this could be a crucial lead. "Can you contact him?" Lin Lu nodded. "I have his WeChat. I can try to arrange a meeting. Be careful. Don't startle the snake," I warned her. Zhang Chong might already suspect we're investigating him. Lin Lu nodded and took out her phone to message Xiao Li. Before long, the other party replied, agreeing to meet for detailed discussions. We met at a coffee shop where Xiao Li, a young man in his 20s, appeared visibly nervous and uneasy. He told us he was Zhang Chong's assistant, responsible for handling day-to-day affairs, but claimed no knowledge of Zhang Chong's criminal activities. "I only recently discovered he was secretly filming female members and using those videos for blackmail," Xiao Li said in a low voice, his tone carrying a mix of anger and helplessness. I tried to stop him, but he threatened to post the videos online and ruin my life if I didn't cooperate. I took a deep breath, feeling a surge of intense anger rising within me. That bastard Zhang Chong. He actually used such despicable methods to ruin so many people's lives. "Are you willing to stand up and expose his crimes with us?" I asked in a low voice, with a hint of expectation in my tone. Xiao Li was silent for a moment, then finally nodded. "I will. I can't let him keep hurting more people." I gripped his hand, feeling a surge of warmth flow through my heart. After returning home, I told Lin Lu about today's developments. After listening, she remained silent for a long time before finally murmuring, "We must persevere. We can't let Zhang Chong harm anyone else." I nodded, secretly fortifying my resolve within. No matter the cost, we would make this bastard Zhang Chong pay. Lin Lu and I sat in the corner of the cafe, with Xiao Li sitting across from us, nervously glancing around as if afraid of being noticed. His fingers tapped unconsciously on the tabletop, while his eyes darted restlessly, revealing intense internal struggle and fear. "You're really planning to expose Zhang Chong?" Xiao Li asked in a hushed voice, his tone laced with uncertainty. I nodded firmly, holding his gaze. "We can't let him keep hurting more people. Will you help us?" Xiao Li remained silent for a moment before finally letting out a sigh and whispering, "All right, I'm willing. But I need to tell you, there's a larger gang behind Zhang Chong. They don't just secretly film female members. They also use these videos for blackmail and illegal transactions." "A larger gang?" Lin Lu's voice trembled slightly, clearly unprepared for this level of complexity. Xiao Li nodded and pulled a USB drive from his pocket, handing it to us. "These contain their transaction records and internal documents. You'll understand once you see them." I took the USB drive, an inauspicious premonition rising in my heart. Zhang Chong's crimes were evidently more severe than we'd imagined. He wasn't just a sexual harasser, but a member of an organized criminal group. "Be careful," Xiao Li warned in a low voice. The people behind Zhang Chong are dangerous. They won't let anyone go who threatens them. I nodded, already starting to calculate our next move. We need to hand over this evidence to the police as soon as possible, but we must also ensure our own safety. After returning home, I immediately turned on the computer, inserted the USB drive, and began reviewing its contents. The USB drive was filled with transaction records, account books, and internal communication logs. The more I read, the more horrified I became. The gang behind Zhang Chong not only used secretly recorded videos for blackmail, but was also involved in illegal transactions and money laundering. These people are terrifying, Lin. Lu sat beside me, her face pale as she stared at the screen. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. We must deliver this evidence to the authorities immediately. Only through legal channels can we fully expose their crimes. Lin Lu nodded, but her eyes still held a trace of anxiety. But if they find out we've reported them, will they come after us? I grasped her hand and whispered, "We'll be careful. The police will protect us." We decided to go to the police station first thing the next morning to submit the evidence. However, just as we were preparing to leave, Lin Lu's phone suddenly vibrated. She pulled it out to check, and her face instantly turned pale. "What's wrong?" I asked softly, sensing her unease. She handed me the phone. On the screen was an anonymous text message. "If you dare report to the police, these videos will be posted online, and your safety won't be guaranteed." I stared at the message, a surge of ominous foreboding rising in my chest. Zhang Chong's gang had clearly detected our movements, and they were now threatening us more directly. We can't let them intimidate us. I grasped Lin Lu's hand and whispered, "We have evidence against them. They wouldn't dare act recklessly." Lin Lu nodded, but there was still a flicker of fear in her eyes. "But if they really post those videos online, what should I do?" I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. We need to find a way to protect ourselves while getting this evidence to the police as soon as possible. We decided to stay put for now, first contacting a lawyer to see if there was a better approach. After hearing our account, the lawyer advised us to first apply for a protective order from the court and submit the evidence to the police. "We'll handle your case with urgency," the lawyer said quietly. "But you need to be careful. These people are dangerous." We nodded, privately resolved. No matter how difficult the road ahead might be, we were determined to persist until we fully exposed Zhang Chong and his gang's crimes. A few days later, we received the court's protective order, and the police officially initiated an investigation. However, Zhang Chong and his gang didn't give up. They began threatening us using more covert methods. Lin Lu's phone kept receiving anonymous messages, most containing threats and intimidation. Suspicious strangers began appearing outside our doorstep, seemingly monitoring our every move. "We can't let them intimidate us," I whispered, grasping Lin Lu's hand. "We must persist until they're brought to justice." Lin Lu nodded, though fear still lingered in her eyes. "But what if they really come after us?" I took a deep breath, unease stirring within me. The gang behind Zhang Chong was clearly an extremely dangerous organization. Any misstep could plunge us into greater peril. "We need to find ways to protect ourselves," I said quietly, already formulating our next steps in my mind. We decided to temporarily relocate to a secure location to avoid being tracked down. Meanwhile, we started contacting other victims, hoping to unite more people in exposing Zhang Chong and his gang's crimes. Soon after, we received an anonymous call claiming to be from someone within Zhang Chong's organization who was willing to provide more evidence. "You need to be careful," the voice whispered in a low tone. "The people behind Zhang Chong are very dangerous. They won't let go of anyone who threatens them easily." I nodded, a sense of foreboding rising in my heart. The organization behind Zhang Chong was clearly more complex and dangerous than we had imagined. "Will you help us?" I asked quietly, a hint of expectation in my tone. After a long silence, the voice finally responded, "All right, I will. But you should know, the people behind Zhang Chong aren't just involved in voyeurism and extortion. They're conducting some kind of illegal experiment." "Illegal experiments?" Lin Lu's voice trembled slightly, clearly unprepared for such complexity. The informant nodded and lowered their voice further. "They use the surveillance footage and medical reports to screen qualified women for these secret experiments. I don't know the details, but I do know they have a clandestine lab in Area A of the Binjiang warehouse." I took a deep breath, feeling intense anger surge through my veins. Zhang Chong and his gang were not just committing crimes. They were conducting some sinister illegal experiments. "We need to find that laboratory as soon as possible," I said to Lu Lin in a low voice, with a hint of determination in my tone. Lin Lu nodded, but her eyes still filled with a trace of fear. "But that place must be dangerous. What should we do?" I grasped her hand and whispered, "We'll be careful. We need to gather more evidence to fully expose their crimes." We decided to stay put for now, contacting the police first to see if there was a better approach. After hearing our account, The police immediately launched an investigation while intensifying our security protection. Several days later, the police raided Area A of Binjiang warehouse and discovered the secret laboratory. Inside were not just vast amounts of secretly filmed videos and medical reports, but also records and medicines from illegally conducted experiments. Zhang Chong and his gang were arrested by the police, their crimes finally fully exposed. Standing at the police station entrance, we watched Zhang Chong being loaded into the police vehicle, a surge of conflicting emotions rising within us. Though we had